April is stacked with awesome games including 3 sequels of note, a stealth game, roguelites, an RTS, and at least one potential Game of the Year contender, so let's begin with Doll's Nest, a mecha action title that asks the question, what if armored core but anime girls? You're able to fully customize your character and the interchangeable parts in that mecha game fashion, having to change and adapt to different enemies, where the customization allows your character to look like a bipedal mech, a regular tank, a spider tank, and much more, as you explore an autonomous factory planet and battle enemies and bosses. I'm a sucker for turn-based RPGs since I grew up with them, with Maliki Poison of the Past being of interest, having a kind of generic setup but added time manipulation to the turn-based combat. Our protagonist is a young warrior on a quest to uncover the secrets of a forgotten civilization and to confront a looming darkness threatening the land, so yes, there's the generic setup as mentioned, but the turn-based combat system displays the turn order that shows you which character or enemy unit is going to move next, where your abilities and attacks will allow you to manipulate this to get the advantage. Of course, there are puzzles and exploration elements, and you do also have a home base where you can plant crops, harvest them, cook, craft, and nurture the 1000 Root Tree, which is central to the story, reminding me of Earthlock Festival of Magic. This video is brought to you by Kingdom of Cards, a strategic card-based kingdom management title in which you have to grow and expand your kingdom while also having to defend against oncoming threats. Beginning with humble crop fields and forests, tap on these to get resources, and experiment with combining them to get access to new cards and technology. For example, a stick with a stone results in an axe, which can then be equipped on the peasant, resulting in a lumberjack, so that you can use that with a forest card to get wood, with this same card-based system extending to all other aspects, from training up troops like archers, shadow mages, warriors, and more. The various buildings, such as the Armory, Explorer's Clan, Thieves' Den, and Conqueror's Guild gives you even more opportunities for discovery and exploration, such as sending explorers out to discover new locations, or for thieves to go on stealing missions where everything needs to tie together as you battle goblins, pirates, evil sorcerers, and more. This just released on Steam, so if interested, buy it via the link in the description below. This next title is one of the weirdest, most innovative but surprisingly terrifying titles, since Out of Hands is a card-based deck builder, but one which mixes video collage visuals with psychological horror elements. You embody a being comprised entirely out of hands, navigating a surreal and unsettling dreamlike world, exploring themes of identity and memory, and challenging you to uncover the obscure truths within this distorted reality. Technically, all the representations of eyes, mouth, nose, and so on are just videos of human hands, which doesn't sound that scary, but the sum is more than the individual parts, resulting in some truly horrific imagery, as you take on all sorts of strange enemies. The card-based combat is mixed with a claymation style look, as well as hand-drawn art in the dream world looking pretty awesome, especially if you love horror games. Here's a cleverly designed title, since Erenshor looks like an MMO with a UI and interface resembling classic WoW or something, but the trick is, this is a fully single-player adventure that simulates an MMO instead. It's kind of meta in that sense, since for the most part, you're playing this like a character in an MMO, exploring a vast open world filled with thousands of items, quests, raids, and secrets. Develop your character, acquire powerful weapons, spells, and legendary armor to battle increasingly formidable opponents. But, of course, the inclusion of simulated players is the key factor. These CPU-controlled characters act like real players, having unique personalities and motivations who persistently exist in the world, progress independently as characters, and are always ready to group up an adventure alongside you whenever you are ready, allowing for raids and more, and just looks so cleverly made. This next title looks weird, but that is the point, since this comes to us from the developer of Paradise Killer, a cult classic detective investigation visual novel adventure game where Promise Mascot Agency is an open-world narrative adventure game starring a disgraced Yakuza lieutenant exiled to a cursed town. Your mission is to transform the bankrupt Mascot Agency into a thriving enterprise, unravel the mystery behind your exile, and navigate the challenges of your new life. Japan loves their mascots, and a bit of that same insanity is captured in this game, from a tofu mascot which cannot stop crying, to a cat mascot who is a little too obsessed with adult videos. And of course, your main assistant is Pinky, a living severed pinky finger who brings her own set of quirks and issues. You are shepherding your mascots to various tasks, driving them there in your upgradable K-truck, having them promote some food or the like, but then they get stuck in doorways and get into other trouble, so you need to help them out. There are RPG-like elements such as stats, a combat system of sorts, open world exploration and driving, as well as mini-games and a bunch of variety looking very weird and indie games, although you might be able to see some similarities between this and the Yakuza games or even Deadly Premonition. I've said it before, but I'm not usually a voxel art person, much preferring 2D pixel art, but yet there's something to the look of Kingdom's deck that really appeals to me, looking excellent from its isometric camera angle, which I suppose is the first step in getting me to look at a game. This is a card-based city builder where you construct and defend your kingdom against enemy sieges, selecting and placing down cards to spawn structures, units, and resources, but having to be strategic about when you use these and in what order. There will be events that require your decision making along with the defense element against enemies, but interestingly, this doesn't appear to be a roguelite, instead having 8 distinct maps or levels, perhaps following more in the footsteps of Thronefall, and looks great. One of the best kept secrets is Gedonia from 2022, an open world RPG that gives you a bunch of different ways to play in that open world fantasy setting. And the developer is back with Gedonia 2, greatly improving upon the visuals in my opinion, and also adding co-op support for up to 4 players. Similarly, this will have a vast living open world where you are free to explore in any direction that you want to, crossing diverse landscapes, undertaking quests, and engaging in dynamic real-time combat. It's an RPG in every sense of the term, with a comprehensive character development system, enabling you to choose abilities and skills to suit your preferred playstyle. There is an in-depth crafting system as well as resource gathering actions like mining, looking very ambitious and should be neat, but do note that it will be an early access release. If you grew up with Tamagotchi or Digimon, you might be particularly interested in Bugaboo Pocket, since this is a virtual pet simulation game only with bugs instead of monsters. You are a research scientist residing in a secluded cabin, accompanied only by a variety of bugs and a pen pal, and your primary task involves nurturing insects from terrestrial, aerial, and aquatic environments, caring for them by feeding and playing with them. It's a bit more interactive, with mini-games to play, where cleaning the enclosure will earn in-game currency, which can then be used to enhance your bug's habitat. Each available insect is modeled after their real-world counterparts, offering insights into their life cycles, habitats, and dietary needs, where you can release matured bugs back into nature, contributing to the ecological restoration of the wildfire-devastated Beetleback Ridge, with an amazing pixel art style as well. Now, there is a decent amount of hype behind Echoes of Samsara, a Souls-like dark martial arts action game drawing upon traditional Chinese culture and mythology, looking sweet in that Black Myth Wukong kind of way, but does not have the same amount of hype. You are the Sword Saint's first disciple, having to prevent a looming catastrophe by embarking on an epic journey filled with challenging combat along the way. As with most Souls-like titles, combat will be the focus, with what looks to be some sort of posture system similar to Sekiro, with there being a rhythm to the combat, but you need to be precise in your movement, be defensive and block and dodge, but know when to get aggressive to break enemy defenses, decisively executing deadly attacks in order to be victorious. This has some fantasy or mythology elements, with parts of the game being set in the spirit realm, which naturally means crazy enemy designs looking to be for fans of the genre. I was pretty surprised when this game was announced, since it has been more than 10 years since the original Monaco, a bona fide indie hit in its own right, but the co-op stealth heist game returns in Monaco 2, but with a very different visual style. Gone are the minimalist pixel art, replaced with modern graphics which are alright, but might be less visually memorable, but the core concept remains the same. where up to 4 players have to work together to plan and execute daring robberies in a vibrant city setting. Choose from a roster of 8 unique characters, each offering distinct abilities and playstyles, where tapping on all of these strengths will be necessary if you want to succeed, with the variations in team composition also adding to the replayability, which is expanded here with procedurally generated levels. I am a bit concerned about this, since procedurally generating stealth levels seems like a nightmare, so hopefully they got that part down, but this developer has made great games, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. A neat looking title that has the potential to be huge is Send, an open world PvPvE extraction shooter set on a post-apocalyptic planet where the terrain you're battling on is just miles and miles of sand dunes. In this hostile environment, you pilot colossal walkers known as tramplers, which serve as both your primary mode of transport and mobile base, and are highly customizable, allowing modifications to their interiors, power systems, armor and weaponry to suit your playstyle. As you traverse the expansive desert landscape, you will encounter other players or even CPU-controlled undead and might have to fight them, battling and scavenging for valuable resources while also taking into consideration environmental hazards. Co-op seems to be key, but I'm not sure if you can betray your crew, but as I've mentioned, the extraction game seems like the next gold rush, so this game is one such example. There have been a number of factory building titles over the years, with Factorial, Satisfactory and Dyson Sphere Program sitting atop the heap, with the next entry of interest being Outworld Station. This is a factory builder but set in space, where you, as station commander, have to exploit an alien star system by amassing resources, constructing starships and expanding your station in a hostile universe. The near infinite amount of space in, well, space, means that you can build and expand how you see fit, using gathered resources to construct a planet-spanning industrial complex, which you can then use as a launchpad to explore additional planets, connect new stations there, and to link them via wormholes to create an interstellar supply chain. There will be hostile forces, so the ships you construct are not just for show, but rather will be critical in your own defenses, also having 4-player co-op, which is always interesting in a factory builder, and in line with other games in this space, will be an early access release. An impressive action roguelite is Rogue Loops, where you guide members of a family in their quest to escape an endless loop. For the most part, combat will be familiar to roguelite fans, featuring fast-paced, fluid action with a variety of skills and attacks, with roguelite randomization, meaning that no two runs will be identical, having new layouts, enemy placements and challenges every time you play. The gimmick here is that every buff that you choose is paired together with a curse, and there's no way around this pairing, simultaneously making it easier and more difficult for you, but in different ways. There will be powerful synergies to discover and exploit if you want to beat the game, but if you do fall, there are permanent meta progression elements from run to run, including a smaller version of the Path of Exile style skill tree, with this really impressing in demo releases so far, making it a title of interest. One of the most anticipated titles of the month is Into the Dead Our Darkest Days, a zombie title, yes, but framed as a side-scrolling shelter survival game. Set in 1980s Texas, lead a group of survivors through the zombie-infested Walton City, venturing out to explore and scavenge, while crafting key items and meeting the needs of your survivors, with fighting the zombies being a last resort, so it is not your typical zombie-killing power fantasy game. It will have a dynamic day-night cycle, with each new day presenting new challenges and opportunities, and as with most zombie fiction, the real evil might not be the zombies, but the other human factions that you encounter, looking very well made, and on paper is the follow-up to Into the Dead 1 and 2, which are mobile games but very popular ones, and looks to be smoothly making the transition to a premium product. What is old is new again in Warside, a military-themed pixel art turn-based tactics title that is basically Advanced Wars in all but name. But given that it has been such a long time since the release of that game, perhaps this might introduce a new generation of players to the genre. Choose a commander and lead your army to destroy the enemy, keeping in mind terrain and their various benefits or hazards as you battle over land, air, and sea using over 30 different types of units. There is a rock paper scissors element to the units, of which counters which as you position your troops, gain territory, and take control of buildings, which can then be used to produce more units to push your advantage. Commander characters have game-changing special abilities which you need to use at the right time, looking like tactical goodness, and will have all the bells and whistles that you would expect for a game like this. For example, there will be a single-player campaign with over 30 missions, local and online multiplayer modes, both co-op and PvP, and even a built-in map editor that allows you to create levels of your own. Factions are also asymmetric and will have units and mechanics specific to each faction, adding more variety, wrapped up with gorgeous pixel art and looks awesome. Yes, it is 2025 and we are still getting Vampire Survivors style games where I have noticed a trend towards 3D titles, with the 2D pixel art look of original Vampire Survivors not having that same kind of mass appeal, where Conquest Dark, like Jotun Slayer Hordes of Hell, kind of looks like Diablo, which I suppose is the point. Instead of Norse mythology, however, this game is more classic dark fantasy, where our heroes have to perform dark rituals to summon the very horrors that have annihilated most of humankind, battling them to save humanity. This looks like your classic Survivors style game, with how they deal with the number of projectiles you fire, the number of enemies thrown at you, and even the upgrade system, but it looks like a beautifully executed one of these, with its demo also being tremendously popular, so there is a huge amount of hype for this game. I was pleasantly surprised to see Escape the Mad Empire pop up on the list of upcoming releases, since this game has been in development for a very long time, so much so that I thought it was vaporware, where the cool thing about this game is that it is a party-based roguelike CRPG dungeon crawler. Think Neverwinter Nights, having a real-time with pause combat system. Lead your party of heroes through procedurally generated dungeons filled with formidable enemies and intricate traps, commanding them to attack and to time the use of their special abilities. 13 distinct classes adds variety, all of which are unique, but you can only choose 4 at a time, resulting in diverse team compositions and strategies. Fight enemies, level up, get loot and more, having a home base as the center for upgrades that enables you to get stronger for subsequent runs. The various biomes do have their own unique quirks as well, and are not just visually different, since elements like cover and surface effects do play a role, with this also having some sick pixel art which makes it of note. A title which I have been looking forward to is Commander Quest, a strategic roguelite auto-battler in which combat takes place in lanes like in a MOBA, combining this with a deck-building card system and looks awesome. You control historical characters in this game, each leading armies across a fantasy world, battling enemies ranging from spiders to dragons and more. Like Slay the Spire, you will have a limited amount of energy per turn, where you must then decide on which cards to use, since units, once spawned, will automatically move forward to engage the enemy. As such, it is a different kind of deck builder and is something fresh, with the almost RTS looking presentation charming me as well, so strategy game fans, this one's for you. I love my monster taming games, having grown up with Pokemon, so indie monster tamers always get my attention, with Portal Fantasy being the title of note here, having the classic turn-based RPG dogfighting combat, but will have multiplayer elements and is an online title where an internet connection will be needed even if you are playing solo. Set in an enchanting kingdom, you are a new student at the Porbo Academy. Yes, that is what the creatures are called here, getting your starter Porbo and setting off on your epic journey. You can catch and evolve these creatures, but can also break them down for crafting, which seems dark. But if you love monster tamers, this should be of interest, with a good pixel art look and fun looking monster designs as well. One of the most unique upcoming roguelites is Blueprints, get this, puzzle exploration adventure roguelite, which is not something you see every day. You are exploring the mysterious, ever-changing Mount Holly Manor, searching for the elusive Room 46, but only have a limited amount of time each day. As you explore, you can draft rooms, deciding on what lies behind each door, which shapes your path and influences the challenges you encounter, having to explore in first-person, point-and-click style, and then managing resources like keys and coins. The Manor's floor plan resets daily, ensuring that the rooms you navigate today will not be the same tomorrow, adding layers of unpredictability and replayability, and is one of the most intriguing titles on this list. We have not heard from South Korean developer Team Hori for a little bit, best known for the roguelite platformer Dungreed from 2018, where they are back with Sephira, this time being a top-down action roguelite instead. Sure, there have been many roguelites in the 6 years since their first game, but the pedigree makes it of note, where you play as a rabbit from the village atop a tower, tasked with altering its doomed fate. Descending through the tower's levels, you will fight various enemies, but also encounter animal NPCs, each presenting opportunities for interaction, so you can talk to them, trade with them, form alliances, or even fight them, with powerful game-changing artifacts and tablets to be discovered as well. The pixel art and action looks good, and while it might seem generic, things might be lost in translation, so I'll be keeping an eye on this. Crashlands 2 is the sequel to the acclaimed open-world crafting RPG from 2016, looking like more of the same, but with fancy new graphics and expanded systems. You play as a burnt-out intergalactic trucker who is in desperate need of a break, but your plans for a peaceful vacation are abruptly interrupted when a mysterious explosion forces you to crash land in an unfamiliar region, teeming with alien life and untold secrets. Engage with eccentric alien societies, undertake quests, and forge alliances that will influence your journey, with the game's world and ecosystem being alive and interactive, so you could lure creatures into explosive meadows, for example. Combat is versatile, allowing you to craft an array of gadgets, elixirs, and weapons, just giving you so many options from stealth to setting traps and more. There is, of course, a base building aspect, where you can build a cozy home away from home to relax, craft, fish, farm, and tame creatures, also creating accommodation to house NPCs, and if the first game is anything to go by, this should be a big hit. As a 90s kid, in addition to JRPGs, Pokemon, and Diablo, the RTS was also a central part of my upbringing, so Tempest Rising speaks to me, one that feels very Command & Conquer-like, but puts its own spin on things. Set in an alternate history 1997, where the Cuban Missile Crisis escalated into World War III, a mysterious energy source known as the Tempest emerges, leading to a global conflict for control. This has your base building, resource management, and large-scale battles that CNC is known for, where it will launch with 2 faction campaigns, with a 3rd faction available in multiplayer, and might get its own campaign later, and will be for fans of the genre. A sweet anime action roguelite is Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade, one that draws upon Japanese mythology and is set in an Edo period style world, blending traditional Japanese aesthetics with fantasy elements. The harmony between humans and demons has been disrupted by the emergence of the nine-tailed fox, and it will be up to our heroes to save the day, with 3 playable characters that differ in playstyle. You can collect soul orbs infused with special talents, having some delicious looking food power-ups as well, which will boost your character, with the art style and presentation being its strongest points and is a no-brainer pick. Speaking of which, dark fantasy, Souls-like Metroidvania, is a very popular combination of themes and genre, which has made Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree one of the most highly anticipated titles, with what looks to be an extensive character customization system, think Salt and Sanctuary, where you play as an Inquisitor delving into the realm of entropy, and should easily make a Game of the Year list somewhere down the line. Watch this video for more Metroidvanias.
Inquisitor. A word in private.